Pain Relief 101, Choosing Between Aspirin and Ibuprofen. When it comes to relieving pain, reducing inflammation, and managing fever, aspirin and ibuprofen are two of the most commonly used medicines. However, being aware of how they function and their differences will guide you in choosing the most suitable one. Aspirin works by permanently blocking certain enzymes called COX enzymes. These enzymes are responsible for producing substances in the body that cause pain and inflammation. Aspirin changes these enzymes by adding a chemical group to them. This means these enzymes can't work anymore until your body makes new ones. On the other hand, ibuprofen temporarily blocks the same enzymes, like putting a lid on a cup rather than permanently changing the cup itself. After some time, when ibuprofen leaves the enzyme can start working again. Both drugs stop pain by blocking these enzymes, but in different ways. At higher doses, aspirin works better for long-lasting pain such as arthritis, because its blocking effect stays until new enzymes are made. Meanwhile, ibuprofen is better for short-term pain, such as occasional headaches or muscle aches, because its effects wear off as the pain fades.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to English for You. I am Mike.
I'm Nikki.
How are you feeling today, Nikki?
I'm feeling good. What about you?
Good, healthy, no pain?
No pain at all.
No discomfort?
No.
Nothing bothering you?
Do you? Are you
No,
bothered?
I'm feeling fine too. And actually, that's terrible news because if we weren't feeling well, we would be choosing between aspirin and ibuprofen.
Exactly.
I guess we can still learn about choosing between aspirin and ibuprofen.
Just in case,
Just in case, but it would be even better if one of us had a headache. We'll work on. Try to get a headache. Maybe if I make loud, annoying noises. And,
it's happening.
You get a headache
already.
It's already
happening, yeah.
There you go. But yes, when most of us are at home and we're feeling a little bit sick or maybe a lot sick, one of the first things that people will do, even before going to the doctor or checking a schedule at a hospital or anything, is you will head to the bathroom, reach into the medicine cabinet, and find a bottle of painkillers.
Exactly.
Right? Well, when you look at your painkillers and you read what's inside them, there are two that are very common, and those are in our title there, aspirin and ibuprofen. Now, without going home and looking in your bathroom, Nikki, which of these do you think or are you sure you have at home?
Ibuprofen, for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
I think that's something that we also have at home. Aspirin's, I think it's the older one, right? Maybe older folks might be taking it. But
yeah, because if you suffer from a more severe disease, you probably would need aspirin more than ibuprofen.
That's interesting.
Right?
We're going to be learning about that soon. Plus, aspirin's it's like advertising milk. Everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas ibuprofen might come in from different companies and different formats, it comes in different ways. But aspirin is aspirin. It's like, describing rice or something. Everyone knows what that is. But yes, these are the most common ones. We would call these over-the-counter medicines. That's also sometimes changed down to OTC, meaning you can go to a store, you can go to a Watson's or a drugstore in your neighborhood, and you can buy these things, right? You don't need to see a doctor and get the doctor to give you a little piece of paper, a prescription, because they're not too strong, and, you can buy them and take them whenever you want. You should always read the instructions. Never take more than they tell you to. But yes, if you're suffering from a headache or you hurt your muscles in some kind of way, these painkillers, aspirin and ibuprofen, will be your friends. But there are some very interesting differences and important differences between them. So let's get into our article and find out all about those. It says, when it comes to relieving pain, reducing inflammation, and managing fever, aspirin and ibuprofen are two of the most commonly used medicines. There you go. So simple things where you are relieving pain, things like inflammation, when you hurt parts of your body and they swell up and it kind of hurts to walk on your ankle when you hurt it or something. Managing fever, you have a high temperature, maybe you have the flu or COVID-19 or something like that. And also, of course, in both cases, you will be relieving pain. To relieve something is to remove or reduce some kind of unpleasant feeling or pain. All right, so you're feeling something It's not a nice feeling. It makes you uncomfortable or unhappy, or it just reduces your happiness. And then something comes along to take that trouble, that pain, whatever is bothering you, to take that away. That is relieving your trouble or your pain. And of course, it can be a medicine. You could also talk about maybe talking to your friends. If you talk to your friends, it might relieve your stress if you're worried about things. So just taking away something that is making your life less good. For example, Helena relieved all of our worries by calling to say that she was fine after the accident. So there you are. We had stress, we had worries. When we got the good news, we were relieved. We could also use it as an adjective.
那当我们想到止痛药的时候，应该最常就会提到 aspirin 指的是阿司匹林和 ibuprofen 布洛芬这两种。那今天的课文呢，就要来介绍这两款止痛药以及它们的差异。那在这边我们看到 relieve 是动词，指的是减轻或者是舒缓。那再来看到了 inflammation 指的是发炎或者是一种炎症症状。
All right. However, it says, and this is the important part, however, being aware of how they function and their differences will guide you in choosing the most suitable one. It's true. We often talk about these drugs as painkillers, right? Drugs that relieve pain or kill the pain, but they are different because they're made of different chemicals and they work in different ways. They will both take your pain away, but they'll do it in different ways and also have different side effects. These drugs often cause other changes in our bodies, not just taking the pain away, so it's good to know about the differences.
那我们该怎么选择呢？就是要了解它们不同的功用以及不同，才能知道自己最适合哪一个。那这一句也包含了今天的 language and focus. Let's take a look. 那今天我们要看到的是常见的转成词，指的就是某一些词语在语义上连接了上下句，带出因果转折或者是补充的关系。那写作中呢，常常加入转成词来让句子之间更加的流畅。那最常见的我们会看到 however 然而，表示语气的转折或者是两件事情的比较。虽然前面说的是这样，但是看到 however 之后，语气可能就会稍微改变了。在这边课文的意思是说，前面提到的这些常见的止痛药有这些功能，然而呢 however 也不见得都是这样，也就是说它还有其他必须要了解的项目。那另外如果我们要表示补充说明的话，我们可以用 in addition to. So for example, I love French pastries.In addition to croissants, I also love pain au chocolat. 所以指的就是我前面喜欢可颂，那后面呢还有说我还喜欢巧克力面包。那另外呢，表示结果的话，我们可以用 as a result. For example, I ate so many croissants yesterday. As a result, 结果就是 I'm feeling too full today.
That's a lot of butter, definitely, in all those croissants, but so delicious. All right, well, let's talk about aspirin as the first painkiller we're going to look at and discover, how exactly it works. It says aspirin works by permanently blocking certain enzymes called COX or COX enzymes. Okay, so that's basically what the chemicals in the aspirin are doing in your body. They are permanently blocking certain enzymes called COX enzymes, okay? And I guess COX enzymes are somehow related to pain, and that would probably make sense since this aspirin is blocking these enzymes permanently. Now, permanently is a word that means basically forever. It's not a temporary thing. It's not for a short time. It is forever, or for as long as you can imagine, maybe until the end of your life or something like that. Yes, some people would say, well, nothing in the world is permanent. Yes, even the mountains will fall down in billions of years. But generally, when we use it, we just mean for a very, very long time and don't expect it to change. It is something that has changed permanently. It has changed forever. For example, when he was 5, Jesse's family moved to Belgium to live permanently. So it wasn't like a 3-year thing and then we'll move back home. No, we're moving there and we're not planning on coming back.
那首先要先来讲一下阿司匹林，那它的效果呢是永久阻挡特定的酵素。那 permanently 这个副词指的是永久地或是持久地 ，something that's always for good or for a long time。那它的形容词就会变成 permanent。So for example, I'm moving to France next year permanently. I won't be back for a long time. 那另外看到了 enzyme 这个名词指的是酶或者是酵素。It's a group of tiny chemicals that helps create or cause certain reaction. So for example, when we put food in our mouth,The enzyme in the saliva will help breaking down the food, 指的就是唾液淀粉酶，会帮助消化我们吃下去的食物。
All right, so they're very useful sometimes, those enzymes. Are you really moving to France permanently?
Yes, I am.
Oh, no, we're going to miss you so much.
Oh, me too.
Oh, that's too bad, isn't it? God, wait, can we all come and visit you?
Yes, for sure.
All right, everyone, we're going to go visit Nikki in France. But before that, let's get back to our look at aspirin. Are you going to buy some croissants for us?
Yes, I will. I'll try to make some.
We'll definitely be there. All right, so let's get back to the aspirin and how it works by permanently blocking certain enzymes. Now, what do? These enzymes, well, they're natural, but they're kind of causing you pain. These enzymes are responsible for producing substances in the body that cause pain and inflammation. Aspirin changes these enzymes by adding a chemical group to them. So that's basically what it is. And remember, pain is annoying to you, but pain is your body's way of telling you to slow down because you hurt yourself. If you didn't have pain, you would probably damage your body a lot more, right? Because you'd be running around on a broken leg, which wouldn't be good for you. So the pain is annoying, but pain is something that stops us from hurting ourselves even worse. But anyways, these enzymes produce substances in the body that cause pain and inflammation. This is an interesting word, substance. It's kind of like stuff. It's a general word that means things, but we're not going to tell you exactly what things. Maybe we don't have time. Maybe it's not that interesting. Maybe it's very, very complicated and you won't even understand. And probably it's just not that important, okay? For example, if someone buys me a chocolate bar, I'm not going to say, what exactly is in this chocolate bar? Because it's filled with ingredients or substances, stuff, but it's not really that important when I'm just trying to enjoy a chocolate bar. So if you're a doctor or someone like that, you would probably be interested in these substances. But for us, just understanding how these drugs work, it's not that important. So a substance is basically a material from which something is formed. And it can be almost any material, but the point is, it's not important enough to tell you exactly. Or sometimes we just don't know. For example, with scientists discovering a new substance, and that's in our example sentence, the horror movie was about an alien substance that turned people into vampires. It's probably green in the movie. Most unusual substances in the movies are green.
Yeah. 那也就是说 COX 酵素它负责是合成会引起发炎或者是疼痛和发烧的化学物质。Substance 这个名词指的是物质。Material, it could be a solids or liquid or gas. So for example, factories making toxic substances in the air causing air pollution. 就是说那些工厂啊常常会排放一些废气，然后会产生一些空气污染。
All right, so COX enzymes can cause pain and inflammation in our bodies, and something in the aspirin will block it. And it says this means these enzymes can't work anymore until your body makes new ones. So it's kind of knocking out those enzymes that cause you pain. They'll come back eventually, but it will take some time. Now let's look at the other one we're talking about today. On the other hand, ibuprofen temporarily blocks the same enzymes, like putting a lid on a cup rather than permanently changing the cup itself. Okay, so ibuprofen, it acts temporarily in blocking those COX enzymes. So it's basically stopping it rather than changing the enzymes themselves. And as it says there, this is happening temporarily. Remember, we had the word permanently. That's for a very long time or forever. Temporarily is the opposite. It's for a very short or limited time. So if you see a sale at a store, right, these things are on sale temporarily. You have 2 weeks to buy them at the low price, and then later on they will go up in price. If you're moving to another country for just a year or two, you'll be living in that country temporarily, and then after some time you will move back home. So not forever, for a short time, or at least for a limited time, even if it is a couple of years, it's not forever. For example, after getting COVID-19, Daphne temporarily lost her sense of taste. She couldn't taste anything, but don't worry, that only lasted for a week or so.
那所以当这些酵素被阻挡不能作用的时候，身体就不会发炎或者是疼痛了。要等到身体产生新的 COX 酵素的时候，才会又觉得痛。那反之，这边用到了 on the other hand， 反之 ibuprofen 布洛芬呢，则是暂时的阻挡 COX 酵素。 这边看到了 temporary 这个副词指的是短暂地或者是暂时的、暂时地。So for example, I mentioned that I'm moving to France permanently, but currently I'm living with my parents temporarily. I'm moving out next month. 那另外看到了 rather than 这个片语指的是而不是。
After some time, when ibuprofen leaves the enzyme can start working again. So ibuprofen will last for some time. You won't feel the pain, but eventually when the ibuprofen, I should say, wears off, the pain will return.
那跟阿司匹林相反的就是布洛芬它抑制 COX 酵素它是暂时的，所以当布洛芬没有了之后，这些酵素又会继续运作了。
Now, both drugs stop pain by blocking these enzymes, but in different ways. They're both painkillers, but they work in different ways, and so we should use them in different ways for different things. Here's a good example. At higher doses, aspirin works better for long-lasting pain, such as arthritis, because its blocking effect stays until new enzymes are made. Oh, that's interesting. So at higher doses, when we talk about a dose, it's an amount of medicine. If you've ever been to the doctor and they tell you, take 2 of these pills in the morning and 2 of these pills at night, that is the dose or the dosage, which we could also say that they're telling you to take. You should always follow their instructions. If it's 1 pill or 2 pills, if you're drinking something, they might say 10 mLs or 10 cc's of this. That is the recommended amount that they want you to take. That is how much you need to take, you should take, and you shouldn't change the dose without talking to the doctor first, okay? So a dose is basically an amount of medicine that is safe and proper to take in a situation, and you might take several doses a day, depending on what's wrong with you and the medicine you're taking. Here's an example. Elroy took a dose of cough medicine before he went to bed. Hopefully, he'll feel better in the morning, and if he doesn't, maybe he'll take another dose before he goes to school.
那这2种药都有止痛的效果，但是阿司匹林会比较适合长期的疾病，像是关节炎等等。那这边看到 dose 这个名词指的是剂量 ，the amount of medicine that one should take。那我们会用 high or low dose， 就是高剂量或者是低剂量。那另外常常我们会听到用药过度了，那就是 overdose。那另外看到了 arthritis 指的就是关节炎，是个名词。
Yeah, and arthritis, it's a problem in your joints, right? And often older people get it. And I don't think you can really get rid of arthritis. It's something that you kind of have to live with.
Yeah, and you'll feel it when it's about to rain.
And you feel it when it's rain, and it might make your hands and other parts of your body very stiff and sore. So, aspirin's good for that because you could live a much better life without having that pain because the arthritis is not going to go away. Now, ibuprofen is better for things that are going to hurt you or cause you pain temporarily. It says, meanwhile, ibuprofen is better for short-term pain, such as occasional headaches or muscle aches, because it affects wear off as the pain fades. So yeah, much better for short-term pain. I guess for younger people, if they're generally healthy, they'll have short-term pain. You might hurt yourself playing sports. You might get a toothache or an earache, a headache. But it won't last for days and days. If you have a headache that lasts for more than a few weeks, you should definitely go and see a doctor. But most of the time, it doesn't last that long. So it's for occasional problems, occasional pain, like headaches and muscle aches. We said meanwhile because we're comparing 2 parts of a certain situation. We can also talk about this as 2 things are true and happening at the same time, but in different places. Okay, but in this case, we're kind of comparing 2 parts of a situation and showing how they're similar and different. Shelley worked all night to get her presentation ready for the meeting. Meanwhile, her boss decided to move the meeting to next week. Poor Shelley.
那布洛芬的话呢，就是它会比较是短期的疼痛，也就是偶尔可能头痛或者是肌肉酸痛等等，因为它的效果呢也是很快就会消退了。Meanwhile 这个副词指的是而，它通常用来强调2种同时发生的情况和差异。另外看到了 occasional 这个形容词指的是偶尔的或者是不经常的 sometimes or not very often。那最后看到的 wear off 这个字指的是逐渐消失 it go off or goes away slowly。
All right, we have time for our chat question here. Why is it important for people to understand how medicines work before taking them?
Because we need to know the side effects, right? Probably we get allergic to certain medicine.
That's
and
true.
That we don't know of, so
Absolutely.
It's important.
Yeah, and, kind of like when we're using lots of other things, certain medicines will work in certain situations, others in others. I mean, you don't wear the same shoes no matter what you're doing. You wear running shoes to the gym and you wear nicer shoes to a party. So think of medicines as the same way. You take a certain medicine if you hurt your back, another medicine if you have a long-term thing like arthritis. This is just good stuff to know to make sure we're treating our body right and giving it the best help possible.
那如果今天的主题让你觉得意犹未尽，你还可以加入空中家教和老师同学一起讨论哦。
Vocabulary Review.
Relieve. A short walk outside helped Lucas relieve the stress of studying for his final exam. Permanently. The store closed permanently last month, so customers now have to go to another location to shop. Substance. Scientists have discovered a new substance that can help make river water safe to drink. Temporarily. Jenny will temporarily stay at her grandma's house while her parents go on vacation for a week. Dose. We are going to increase the dose of your medicine and check the results after 2 months. Meanwhile. The teacher was explaining the lesson. Meanwhile, some students were chatting instead of listening.
字汇小补帖
Inflammation. Enzyme. Arthritis. Occasional.